Do you see me?
Are you there? I do see you.
Yeah. And you've actually, we're live right now, just so you know.
That's exciting. That's
So,
wonderful. It's good to
yeah,
see you.
same.
And it's a pleasure to have you. So welcome to Soul Sparkle Radio.
Thank you for
And thank
having
you for your
me.
patience. Absolutely. I know I have a lot of fun and exciting questions to ask, and hopefully we can hear all the adventures that you have. I know you have a lot of exciting things going on right now. So I want to just take a minute to make sure this is Nadia Munla, and she is the owner and magical operator of the Pleasure Plate. So we're happy to have you, Nadia. She's a health and sensuality coach. Nadia is a lover of guiding women to central nourishment and embodied power by helping them reconnect to their own body. Immensely passionate about getting women out of their heads and into their bodies so they can feel vibrant, light, and connected again. So, Nadia, it's a pleasure to have you, and we're so excited. The first question I always like to ask is, what makes your soul sparkle? What is it that lights you up from the inside out?
Well, pleasure, but that's a really big, I feel like that's a cheat answer because it's a very umbrella response. But to be more specific, what really lights me up and has my soul sparkle is witnessing a woman pleasured. So witnessing her feel really connected and in her body and doing what she desires and letting herself just be with that and expanding into that space of pleasure and giving herself permission, because it's so hard for us as women all the time to give ourselves permission to indulge and take our time and really service ourselves above everything. And whether that's in the form of, I'm going to take an hour off to just make myself the most delicious meal ever and really enjoy myself doing it. Or if that means off to yoga, or if that means just going back to bed if you're really tired, like whatever that version is. Being able, to see a woman doing that and giving herself that permission to do that, for me, really lights me up and drives me forward in everything that I do. And I'm lucky to have a job and do something where I get to see that so often, because although I'm definitely not hanging out in your bedroom, because that would be weird, I get to see this when I'm teaching in my sensual movement and pole dancing classes, when I'm teaching in my embody classes, when I teach workshops. And even though my one-on-one practice is, over Skype or the phone, I still can visualize or tune in to that experience that they're having energetically. And so to be able to witness that is just, it's magical.
I love it. It feels magical. I love the idea of permission for pleasure, right? Like what a gift that we're able to give ourselves when we give ourselves permission to enjoy pleasure. So tell me about what are some of the things that you do in terms of permission. Obviously you mentioned movement, the dancing, the pole dancing practice. What are some of the things that you do personally, and then also maybe some of the yummy, juicy suggestions you give to folks that are looking to give themselves permission for more pleasure in their life?
So I always start off with everyone that I'm working with in just little doses, right? Because we can't just go from being totally deprived to going like, I'm just going to fully indulge, because it's not sustainable. And we all have responsibilities and commitments and so many other things in life that always take us away. The way that my boyfriend likes to call it is competing commitments. So there's always constantly a decision that needs to be made. And the woman is the one making that decision for the household many times. Okay, is this hour with the kids, or is this hour like me in the shower, like taking my time? Is this hour, do I need to handle this or handle that? And in doing that, lots of times we're constantly choosing our kids or our husband or our partner or our work or whatever it might be. And usually what tends, I'm not saying it's all the time, but what tends to happen is the version of self-care that we do really desire, that stuff that is going to nourish us and replenish us and have us showing up better in these other areas, is usually the first thing that gets like scratched off the to-do list. And I'm not saying I know any better. Like, it happens. I mean, the reason why I teach this is because it happens to me all the time. There's still days where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm totally going to do this awesome thing for myself. And then come end of the day, whoopsies, didn't have time. Guess that's going to wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow comes, oopsies, right? We all have that version. So, so what I would say is a really great way to start is to just take 5 to 10 minutes. And if you have more time, great. But starting off with just like 5 to 10 minutes in the morning, you know, if you have children and they get up really early and start a racket, it can be before they wake up, before your partner wakes up, or even if you are, you know, I don't have kids, and still it's just good to have a moment in the morning before, you know, calls start coming in, emails start coming in, things like that start to invade your space, to just take those 10 minutes to do something that you really love to do. Like, my boyfriend used to wake up when he had a day job. He doesn't anymore. He's a life coach now, but he used to wake up and watch Seinfeld for half an hour before going to work as a way to sort of rebel against the system. And I think our feminine version of that is, for me, it's putting on 2 really delicious songs that make me either really happy, and so I just get to dance for 5 or 10 minutes, or it could be something that feels very soothing and easeful and connects me to something bigger. And I just sit down and I do a couple of movements that I like to call moving meditations, that are very simple, that don't require strength, that help you stretch. And it could be as simple as, and I mean, I'll show it to you guys here, although it'll be a little bit harder to see, but I do actually have an embodiment kit where I have these videos that you can follow, and it's totally free. So I'll send you guys to that as well, because I'll probably, you'll see more of my body in that version. But essentially, you're just sitting cross-legged, and all you're doing is reaching your heart forward and back. So it's just a circular movement here, where as you reach back, you're sort of tucking your pelvis, you're rounding your spine, you're bringing your chin to your chest. So none of it is rocket science, but what's so powerful about this is it's just a way to connect to your senses. And especially if you have a beautiful song in. For us as women, you know, when we're primarily feminine energy likes to move. Feminine energy is swirly and circular and just needs to flow. And so for many of us, you know, seated meditation is this thing that's touted all the time, like must sit down and get 20 minutes of meditation. And although I'm totally for that, and I have that practice myself, I think there's something really special for us as women, especially for those of us cultivating that sensory pleasure and that very embodied feeling, doing something where we're still in a trance in a way, because you can close your eyes and you can tune into all the little subtleties there. But what happens is you get a chance to move. I don't know if from my end, it looks like my camera froze, but you tell me if it's still the same.
Got you. We can see you. It's great.
Oh, great. Okay. So that's just, you know, so simple. It doesn't take a crazy amount of willpower. And in fact, I generally tend to recommend things that don't really take too much willpower or motivation, because they're actually things that you love to do. Because things that you love to do, you're going to do more of. So if you indulge in that once or twice and you really love it, then you're able to, you know, you start to wake up wanting, like getting excited. I know that happens with my clients. They're like, oh my God, we just wake up wanting to do these practices. And so I think that's just a really great way to start.
I love it. I love the idea and the concept of the moving meditation. It feels so much more available, because I think a lot of times it's hard for us to sit still, right? It is a really hard practice to begin meditation when you're forced to sit still. So I love the idea of doing that first thing in the morning too, and get your body going.
Yeah.
Nadia, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to add to that it's sometimes easier to then sit still after you've moved, because sometimes we just have energy that needs to move through us. And I find that's why, like, if you go back and you look at yoga practices, right? What is it? It's like yoga is way more than just the asana part of things that we tend to practice here, and that's become really mainstream. Yoga is also the shavasana after. Yoga is the meditation after. Yoga is the philosophy that you live by. And so the way that it's set up is you always go into meditation at the end, not at the beginning of a yoga practice. And I think it's the same thing here, is that they got it. The yogis understood that you got to move before you can remove all the gunk out of your system, get the blood flowing, get the energy moving, and then you can sit, you can just have space to actually sit in stillness.
Right. Yeah. So it feels like this is work and practice that you've been doing for a long time. Was there something specific or a story or something that you might want to share with us for how you came to create the world? Like, was there, what's the background story, I guess I would say, if there's any, because there's always usually a really good story for, especially when it's about pleasure. So I'd love to hear, I think our listeners would love to hear about that too.
Sure. Yeah, I have many stories, and there's definitely a background. And I just want to check in with you if you're still being able to see me, because I completely stopped seeing either one of us.
Yep.
Like, oh, okay, great, beautiful.
I can see
as long as it's working on your end, we're good. Yeah. So
just talk away.
Yeah. So really, for me, it was a little bit of a combination of things. What happened was, early on, I first got into dance. I got into ballet, and I was on a professional track. I really wanted to become a ballerina. And at the age of 8, because by then I'd started when I was 2. At the age of 8, I had a teacher from the Maryland Youth Ballet, which is where I was training, sit me down with my mother and basically say, you can't go on point because you've got, like, your knees are wonky and you're basically going to be in pain for the rest of your life. And I was devastated, obviously, as much as an 8-year-old can be. And what that did was it really, it disconnected me from my body. Like, I had this moment where I just felt like it was the first time in my life where I felt like my body was working against me. And that my soul wanted to be a dancer more than anything in the world. And here I was stuck in a body that simply was not going to allow for that to happen. And so, as part of the heartbreak, and obviously I didn't know that at the time, but looking back, it makes sense to me, I completely disconnected. I tried for another year or two to dance a little, and then I just was like, no, not going to do it. If I can't go on point and I can't have my pink tutu, I don't want to be a part of it. And so I stopped completely, and I essentially didn't really move my body at all, unless I was, like, forced to at school, until, like, my mid-20s. And at that, and initially it was, like, not a positive way of reconnecting with my body. I was, like, partying a lot, so it was very much clubbing and things like that, where I really got a chance to dance my heart out, but it wasn't healthy. It wasn't the healthy version of connection. And so when I eventually, around the age of, I think it was like 28 or 29, I started S Factor, which is a sensual movement practice that also includes pole dancing. And I just fell in love with it because it was all about reconnecting to your own body voice and your authentic truth and what that looks like in your sensual and erotic body. And I eventually became a teacher. And I think that was, like, a really huge part of my journey, connecting back into my body and back into the wisdom of my body, the story that my body had to tell, and the fact that there was a way for me to still express myself through my body despite the challenges. And I think for the first time ever, I went in there and I started to realize that it just was a lot better of a life if I was on the same page as my body, if we were going to be friends and allies, as opposed to me having this constant view of you're working against me. And the reason I had this view of you're working against me so much was not just the dancing side of the journey, which is what I've just told you about, but it was also that I was having a lot of health issues. So at around the age of 15 or 16, I was diagnosed with 2 ulcers, and they were like, damn, you're a stressed out kid. And I was like,
Wow.
I mean, I'm a bit neurotic, but I don't know, that seems a little bit crazy. And so I was on all these medications, and I would wake up like with insanely painful stomach aches, and everything just felt so difficult in my body. I had migraines, stomach aches, like just feeling tired all the time. And what I found out way later was that I just had undiagnosed food intolerances, but nobody knew that at the time. No one bothered to ask. And I think growing up in Lebanon, which is where I grew up, the doctors just didn't, it wasn't like something that was on the radar yet, food intolerances. And so it wasn't until I got to the States that I started to realize, oh, I actually have some issues that are related to food. And when I actually changed my nutritional intake and just the way that I ate, and I figured out what was working against me, suddenly everything, all the issues in my body had disappeared. It was really amazing how that happened. And so in doing that again, I realized there was just this very profound moment where I realized, you know what? This whole time, my body was just crying out for help and was trying to give me signals. And I just did not know how to interpret those signals. And so I saw, instead, my mindset was, you're working against me. I hate you, right? There was just a lot of loathing against my body, and the fact that I was constantly not being able to do things. I wasn't being able to, get to school on time and get through my to-do list later in life, and hit a deadline because I had this migraine, or like, it was just always stuff that was working against me. And then I just realized, oh, I just needed to listen. And once I listened and really started to interpret and understand how to interpret the different signals and the different cravings that I was getting and the different pain signals and just all of it, it's like we became friends, and S Factor was such a key part of that. And I think those two sort of parallel journeys, both in the dance world and in the health world, led me to this place of really championing having a good relationship with your body, and learning your own body's voice and how she speaks to you and what you need to do to really feel connected. Because ultimately we all want to just feel really vibrant and alive and connected. And if we don't check in with what our relationship is with our bodies, which is the vessel on which we connect through, then it's really hard to do any of those things. So that's sort of the background and why I have this emergence in my practice of health, sensuality, and embodiment, and how I think they're all really they're different layers of the same thing, which is a journey into embodiment.
I love it. Isn't it amazing how some of the greatest pain and the greatest struggles and challenges then lead to our greatest work in the world? It's just
Right?
such a neat the fullest expression almost of any trauma or any suffering really could be our greatest opportunity to serve in a way that we probably wouldn't have been able to had we not had to go through those challenges. So so obviously now you work with women, you work with multiple women, multiple ways. You want to tell us maybe what's going on in terms of, what are the options that people have to work with you, or is there any offering that you have that's coming up that would be fun to share?
Sure.
Tell us what's new and late and great.
Awesome. Yes. So I'm going to start off with a little more, I guess, my process, how I work, and how the health and sensuality and embodiment layers sort of connect. And then more concretely, I'll tell you guys what are the different ways in which you can connect with me and work with me. So what I have created is this process called, or what I like to think of as the 4 layers of embodiment. And the whole point of that, of course, is getting more connected to your body voice. Now, layer one or phase one, step one, whatever you want to call it, that first layer is all about removing the static that is stopping you from hearing your body voice. So if we think of our body voice like on a radio station, and you know, when you're like in the car and you're driving, I don't know if we still have these types of radios in the car, but no, everyone's like Spotify now. But you know, when you used to have the knobs and you're just like one notch off and you're like, you can hear the crackling and you hear there's a song and you're like, I like the song and I can't quite figure out, I can't get to the right place to hear it properly. That's where you are in phase one. You're like, I hear something, I want to go towards it, but I don't actually know how to remove the static. And so what I do with clients in phase one is that we really go through this process of cleaning everything up that might be static. And that could be food intolerances, right? That could be too much metal in your system. If you're eating a lot of sushi, it may happen. It could be not getting enough water, even though you think you are. You know, I've had clients who come, it's as simple as that. Clients who come, they're like, I drink 8 glasses of water, but I also drink 8 cups of coffee. Like, well, we may have to increase your water intake on that one. So there's a lot of different things that can interfere with the signal, so to speak. And so that's really the phase of cleaning stuff up. Once you've cleaned stuff up, you're sort of in layer two. And layer two is all about listening and learning and understanding your body's way of communicating with you. So your body's language. So, oh, I got a migraine. What does that mean? Did I eat something yesterday I shouldn't have? Maybe there was gluten in it and I didn't realize. And now today I woke up with this headache that won't go away. Maybe, you know, I'm constantly feeling really lethargic in the morning and I need 3 cups of coffee to get back to like what feels like a normal state. Why is that? What is it that's happening in my body that's getting me to that point? You know, it's really starting to get a sense of what your unique situation is and how your unique body speaks to you. Once you have a general like 101 understanding of your language, or your body's language, should I say, then we get into phase 3 or layer 3, which is really about your understanding your unique feminine body and your 4 cycles, because your 4 phases of your cycle. Because what happens for us as women is many times we're like, I'm on my period, I'm not on my period. Or maybe it's a little bit more than that. And you're like, I'm PMSing, I'm on my period, or it's the rest of the month, right? Like we don't really think of our bodies as going through 4 very distinct phases in our monthly cycle. And once you begin to understand that you as a woman are actually 4 different women, hormonally speaking, your body completely changes from one phase to another when it comes to the hormone levels. When your hormone levels, which are they're basically the messengers in your body. So if the messengers in your body are like doing totally different things and there's different messengers at different times of the month, obviously you're going to be very different. Your reaction to things is going to be different. The way in which you eat and what fuels you and nourishes you is going to be different if you are ovulating than when you are menstruating. Your superpowers are going to be different. Like there are times in the month where it's better to schedule interviews and pitches and presentations and selling. And that's ovulation, by the way. That's when you're the most irresistible. And then there's phases where like your luteal, which is right before you bleed, that's actually better for like introverted activities, reflection, journaling, looking back at the month before and seeing what worked, what didn't, whether it's in your relationship or at work or, you know, your exercise schedule. Like there's so many things that you can look back at and refine during that time. So this phase is all about getting you more and more well-versed and connected to your feminine cycle so that you can be more in tune with your body as a woman specifically, which is why I just work with women. And then the final layer is really about, now that you've cleaned it all up, you understand the language and you understand the language during the 4 different phases, now it's about getting to the energetics and the somatic and the emotional side of your body, the more nuanced relationship and signals that your body gives you that are more connected to, you know, the chakra system, or just different energy blocks that you might have in your body, or the reason why like your left shoulder is always tense, things like that. Or why do you get a certain reaction every time you check your credit card bills? You know, what happens and how can you stop that from happening? But there's no way to connect to that emotional, very nuanced, subtler part of your body if you are still having issues like at waking up with a stomach ache, right? So for us as women, it's so important to connect to that energetic and emotional space in our bodies, because that's what gets us really intuitive and connected and feeling really, really vibrant. And that's what turns heads. That's what has people going, I want what she's on, right? And the only way to really get there is to make sure you're going through these layers so that you're able to go, oh, that little feeling in my belly is actually an intuition hit, as opposed to, I think I ate something funky yesterday, right? So there's like, it's really important, because for me, that was my journey, right? Like I couldn't connect to my intuitive side and my psychic side if I wasn't eating what nourishes and keeps my energy channels clear, which, you know, I was doing. I was eating the dairy and eating the gluten, and, you know, not that I love dairy and gluten, by the way, guys, like love it, but it just doesn't work for my body. And so it was just, I felt such a huge difference in taking that out, and it might be something else for you, you know? So that's just my process. And it's just to help give you guys an idea of what is the connection between health, sensuality, and embodiment. And this is really what it is. You cannot get super sensual if you are not first doing the getting enough water and all the basics, the stuff that like may seem very foundational and boring, but is important because it's part of what's going to get you to that really vibrant, nourished place. So that's a little bit about my philosophy and the process in which I work in. And of course, being that we're in a very feminine paradigm, it's very flowy. So sometimes clients come to me and they already have the health piece figured out, and they just want to work on the subtler energetic piece. And so their whole time with me is working on that. And of course, we go in and out and back and forth. For some women, they just come to me, they've got really bad PCOS or endometriosis, or are trying to get pregnant. And so we work primarily on hormonal balance and getting them back to a shape of really, maybe they've had in the past like a really bad relationship with their hormones and specifically their period. And so we really work on getting them allied with that part of them, so they understand there's also really beautiful superpowers that come with each part of your cycle. So really depends on each person, and that's why it's so customized and specific to what you're coming in with and what your goals are. But I work with a handful of women one-on-one. Currently, my practice is nearly full. I've got one spot currently available for a one-on-one client. And the reason that I really try to keep it very intimate and small, and so I don't work with 20 people at the same time, because there's no way I can energetically hold you over a period of 6 months, which is how long that they work with me for, if I'm working with 20 people. So I aspire to really give a very intimate and held experience as you go through the process, because a lot of stuff comes up and you need someone there as your champion. And so that's really what I'm there to do. Alternatively, and this is my number one thing, like this is really what I focus on more than anything. It's this VIP one-on-one client relationship. But I do some other fun stuff on the side. One is that I teach, if you're in New York, this is very specific to New York right now, I teach a monthly, it's called Embody class, which is just like a 1 hour, it's like a dance party, basically. We just have a really good time. I guide you through your 5 senses, and then we have a playlist that connects us to all these different emotions we have as women and different archetypal energies that we've got as women. And it's a chance to dance the way you dance in the shower, in the bedroom, but in a safe space, and allow yourself to really feel your full range as a woman. And the reason that's so important is because it's part of getting you connected to your body, is to really feel all the different emotions and be able to express yourself without choreography being like shoved down your throat, which is something, of course, that I had to learn the hard way growing up dancing. And what I've just started doing with Embody that's very exciting is that I've had so many requests for people outside of New York for me to teach an Embody class. And obviously it's just like so much fun for me, and I love doing it. And so what I've started doing is opening up the possibility for anyone, anywhere. I would say within the US, but I'm also open to Europe if I happen to be passing through, which I will be, by the way, in July. But anyone in the US can just email me at info@nadiamunla.com, NADIAMUNLA.com. So it's just my full name, .com. And you can email me and request that you want a workshop in your city. And then we sort of talk it out and see how many people we might need and how that might work for me to actually book a flight and come out there. But totally possible. If it's something that someone's excited about, I would absolutely love to come visit you and teach your girlfriends and have a really good time. So all the details about the class and the workshops are at embodydanceclass.com. So it's all one word, embodydanceclass.com. And then finally, if you're like, this all sounds really fun, but I want to just start off with something really, really basic, like we were speaking about earlier, if you want to just work on these circles or just some sort of moving meditation, I've got 3 different moving meditations, plus a just audio meditation that is a very sensual meditation that can all be found also on embodydanceclass.com. When you go there and you just scroll to the bottom, it'll say, grab your free gift, the Embodiment Starter Kit. And that starter kit comes with a bunch of playlists. So if you're someone who's doesn't really know much about music, but you're really looking for some fun music to dance to or to move to, I've got playlists for each movement. The videos break down every movement, so you're totally not alone. And finally, I also have that meditation that's for a seated meditation. So it comes with a bunch of goodies. I like to make sure you have the whole experience given to you on a platter. So it's all there. That's completely free. All you do is enter your email address, I send it to you, and you get to do it at home, wherever you are. And so I hope that gives you guys a range of options to choose from in terms of how to really connect to your body and start your journey.
I'd love to San Diego for a workshop. How about we make that happen?
I would absolutely love to. I would love to. Just email me and we figure out the details.
That would be fantastic. Nadia, is there any last minute tip or advice or anything else you'd like to share before we end our time together today? It's been such a pleasure.
Just want to thank you, and big shout out to your community. And it was lovely to get a chance to chat. And I feel like I've said quite a lot.
But all really good stuff. Very inspiring. We appreciate it so much. And we look forward to having you back on again sometime soon. We'd love that.
I'd love that.
All right. Thank you so much, Nadia. We appreciate it. Okay. Thank you.
Bye.